I'm here with the U Plus project interviewing Zoe Wishaw, and she's going to talk to us today about the photography industry. Hi Zoe, would you like to tell me what you do, please?
Yes, I'm a commercial photography consultant and mentor, and I work with photographers often on a one-to-one to help them define their creative direction and help them move their photography really to the next level. And so that's really working with photographers who might be emerging into the world of photography, or in fact those that are already at a professional level.
So how did you get into the photography industry?
You might find this quite interesting to know, but I'm not a photographer by background. There are loads of ways you can get involved in the world of photography without necessarily studying it. So when I left school, I studied science at university because I was fascinated in the world around me, and my degree was actually in botany. My creative outlet was photography, and in those days the famous old darkrooms existed, and I spent hours and hours and years in the end in the darkroom playing about with black and white photography. And then I realised that actually perhaps I went into publishing, producing scientific school books for children, and it was during that time where I was involved with the very creative elements of publishing for children that I realised photography was a very important way to communicate to the world around us. And I found a job in The Guardian for an editor in a company called Tony Stone Images, which years ago was a very well known and very specialist, what was called a stock agency, a place where photographers would place photographs to be used in advertising and design and publishing. And I got the job. I remember distinctly during my interview, I was asked what did I think about certain pictures, and Tony, the guy that ran the place, who was very, very highly respected, still is actually, said, "So Zoe, tell me, what do you think of these pictures? What do you think they're communicating?" And I'd had no formal background or experience in talking about pictures, except that I knew what I liked.
Right.
I had an opinion. So I said what I thought, and I didn't just say I like it or I don't like it, I said why. And he loved it. And that is what got me the job, and I stayed at this company that then turned into Getty Images, and I stayed there for 17 years. So I moved from being an editor to an art director, then the director of photography, and then the European director of photography, and I was responsible for managing all the content that was generated in Europe and Australia for many years. And after that I left to do my freelance work, and I did some work with some other photo agencies too. So you can see that where I've got to, I suppose, has come about through a passion, which was photography, not necessarily an academic knowledge of it, but a personal interest and an opinion, which is my opinion, but it was one that was cultivated through, I suppose, an ability to talk about pictures, which I think is very, very important. So you definitely don't have to have a purely academic photographic route, but it can certainly help if that interests you and gives you a great grounding. But I think a love of the medium is really what matters.
Okay, brilliant. And what kind of person do you think is ideal to be a photographer or in the photography industry? What kind of qualities?
Well, I think to be a professional photographer really does require a range of very, very particular skills. I mean, you've got to be able to run your own business, so you've got to be quite business minded. Now that's something that's quite new in the last sort of say 8 to 10 years, because photography has become so competitive. You've got to know how to run your own business, and you've got to know how to market yourself, so you've got to be good with social media and more traditional marketing methods perhaps. But in terms of personal characteristics, I'd say being tenacious, really not letting go, not being afraid of having some knocks. Being able to take criticism is really, really important, because photographers many times will get knocked back. Their work won't be accepted, their pitch won't be the one that art buyer wanted. So it's all about being able to pick yourself up from disappointment and apparent failure, but it's not failure, because it's all about taking that criticism, those critiques, and doing something with it.
So to become a photographer, would you say that students and young people would have to take the educational route or a different route? What would your best advice be?
I think it can depend. The good thing is that it doesn't have to be an academic route, and I say a good thing because I think the hundreds of photographers that I've come across over the years have come from such a wide range of backgrounds. Some, yes, have studied a BA and perhaps an MA in photography, but many others have come from other backgrounds.
So what, aside from actually standing there and clicking the camera, what other jobs do exist in the photography sector?
An example might be an editor in perhaps a photo agency, an editor in a publishing house. You could be a picture researcher who's looking for photographs for publishing or something like that. You could be an art director who is working on set with a photographer and crew to make the pictures, as according to their vision. Mm-hmm. You could be an art buyer in an ad agency, design company, who's looking for photographic talent. If you've got the ideas from perhaps another team and your job is to actually find the photographers, you could be doing that. You could become a videographer. You could actually go into making film.